Hey, there we go. It's adjusting. Welcome back to my channel. Now, today we're going to be reacting to Harvard sues Donald Trump. Uh-oh. Harvard fighting back, man. They not playing. I'm liking this. That's good. Harvard should sue Donald Trump. Again, one thing that we shouldn't eliminate in the universities, and I don't know if this is 100% specifically what he's doing, but it is kind of what he's doing because he's trying to remove DEI programs from Harvard. That was the starting point of this whole entire conversation. He's trying to remove anything that's woke in the universities, and that's not good because the universities is where we should have these type of conversations. Should they be forced on everybody in the universities? Absolutely not. But should the conversation be had within universities? Yes. Universities is where we come to debate. It's where we come to bring ideas. It's where we come to discuss things that could be better for society. This president is just weird to try to attack that. But anyways, yo, let's hop right into it. Let's get it. Let's go.
Harvard University is now suing the Trump administration over the administration's threats to cut billions of dollars from the university's funding. It's the latest escalation in the showdown between Harvard and the Trump administration after Harvard's leak.
How much money the fuck does the Trump administration... Well, many presidents are sued, so I guess this is a consistency, but geez Louise, man. How much money is the Trump administration? You keep hearing sued, left and right. Like, oh, man. It's like this dude does not care about getting sued. Well, probably not because he's a businessman.
Leaders rebuked Trump's demands to change key policies and courses even. CNN's Jeff Zeleny is at the White House. Jeff, what is Harvard University's president saying about the lawsuit?
Well, Jake, this lawsuit is coming in. It's being filed against a variety of different agencies and cabinet secretaries, from RFK Jr. at the Department of Health and Human Services to Pam Bondi to the Defense Department. Basically all the agencies that have some funding for research programs at Harvard University. But we've just obtained a letter from the Harvard president that explains what is at stake here. And Alan Garber, the president, writes this. He said, these actions have stark real-life consequences for patients, students, faculty, staff, researchers, and the standing of American higher education in the world. He goes on to say the consequences of the government's overreach will be severe and long-lasting. So, Jake, what's at issue here is the proposed freezing of funds of some $2.2 billion, and then a new potential round of funds being frozen of $1 billion. Now, these are a variety of programs, but a lot of them are medical programs. A lot of them are research programs. So this is one thing that Harvard is really standing up in a way that many other universities have not, trying to take this fight directly to the administration. Of course, we should point out one of the reasons Harvard is able to do this is because they do have the largest endowment of any college. And so far, the White House has not responded to this lawsuit yet, Jake.
Turning to breaking news.
Wow. Yeah, just wow. So, this administration is pushing some boundaries, man. It really wants to eliminate people's freedom of thinking. You know what I mean? Like, you're allowed to think whatever you want. If you want to think woke thought, you should be able to think woke thought just as well as you think awake. I can't stand you dumbasses when it comes to that. Like, awake and awoke. Like, they're different things. They're the same fucking thing. Woke, the only difference between woke was woke came from black people, and that's what you guys don't like. Woke came from black people, and all it meant was pay attention to systematic oppression that's going on. And later on, you guys turned it into awake, just like you did Black Lives Matter being all lives matter. You always steal from black people, but that's okay. You guys can keep doing it. But anyways, this administration, that's neither here nor there. This administration is really pushing some boundaries, and it's weird because it's like I like it and I don't like it at the same time. You want boundaries to be pushed by the leaders, but at the same time, the type of boundaries that it's pushing don't seem to be fair, right, or I don't know. Let's just keep going.
News in the fight between the White House and Harvard University. Harvard is suing the Trump administration for the freeze on funding to the university. Harvard is arguing basically that the administration is overreaching. So what happens now?
Yeah, so this is a lawsuit that was just filed today, Jake, in the federal district court in Boston. Harvard's complaint basically alleges a couple of different theories, including that the withholding of funding, basically in retaliation for Harvard's refusal to abide by the administration's demands, is a violation of the First Amendment, that the government's not allowed to basically coerce private institutions, educational institutions, into doing its bidding by imposing a particular viewpoint. That case is going to go forward now in federal court in Boston. And Jake, I mean, Harvard's got a lot of law on their side. Jacob, note the complaint in this case is signed by a bunch of very prominent conservative lawyers, suggesting that this dispute really is one that's going to cross the ideological barrier as well.
Well, it's a real slippery slope, right? I mean, Trump does this to Harvard. What's President, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez going to do for a conservative school?
Facts. Everything Trump, like anybody who can't understand why people are upset, just imagine if Obama did everything Trump was doing to the opposite side. Just imagine if AOC did everything to the other side. Just imagine that. How would you feel about all these things getting rolled back on that you appreciated from those people?
And this is why I think the Supreme Court really, Jake, in a series of cases going back to the 1960s, has been adamant about two principles that are both at issue in this case. The first is academic freedom and the idea that governments should not be interfering with the curricular and structural choices that private universities especially are making. But Jake, second, just the notion that the government should not be demanding, as a condition of receiving federal funds, that any recipient, a private university, a public university, a nonprofit organization, adopt a particular viewpoint, because then you don't really have the freedom of speech. You have the freedom of speech the government approves of. Yeah. And those are just not the same thing.
I want to bring in history professor at Harvard University, Maya Jasanoff, to discuss the escalating tensions between Harvard and the Trump administration. Professor, do you support Harvard suing the Trump administration over these threats to cut federal funding from the school?
100%. On campus over the last week or so, the talk has been not about if, but when. And we have been very eager to see our university take the lead in standing up to these very patently illegal actions that violate the First Amendment, among other things.
In addition to all the funding cut threats, the Trump administration is also demanding that Harvard turn over all reports generated by the school task forces on combating anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim bias, any of them generated since October 2023. Do you think the university should turn those over?
I think we need to step back from all of this a little bit and just see what's going on here. Anti-Semitism is unacceptable wherever it takes place. I myself am partly of Jewish origin. I know that this is a problem that has been rising lately. It needs to be stopped, and Harvard has been taking steps to do that. But we should not mistake this very real concern for what's going on by the government. It is using this as a pretext for a much larger, deeper assault on not just Harvard, but on higher education across this country, the very thing that helped make the 20th century the American century and can help lead us into the 21st century. The government is taking a sledgehammer to it and using anti-Semitism as an excuse.
When asked about the university's battle with the Trump administration, a Harvard employee who wanted to remain anonymous tells CNN, quote, "Nothing has united Harvard's deeply fractured campus more," unquote, "than Trump taking you guys on." Do you agree?
I absolutely do agree. I think one of the, from my point of view, positive things about the very difficult times we've been experiencing since October 7th, 2023, is that the faculty and staff and students have really pulled together more around ideas of what universities are for. And I think that actually puts us in a strong position now to stand up for what higher education means for this country, for the world, and to defend it against what seem to many of us to be just crazy and frankly very self-destructive attacks that are not in the nation's interest.
What are you hearing from students? Are they following this closely? Are they worried?
Students, of course, our undergraduates have lived through a period of enormous chaos in their own lives. The pandemic and all the political uncertainty. I think they're, trying to make sense of a world that looks really different from the world that a lot of us faculty experienced. But I think when we were growing up, but I think that they, are wrestling with just what our purpose is here. What are we doing? What kind of a country are we that is picking up students from outside their homes and abducting them, for publishing things in student newspapers. These things just change the way particularly young people just feel in their own homes, in their own towns, in their own skins, and thoroughly disrupt the kind of international and vibrant community that we have here on campus, and I like to think across the nation.
Tell us.
I just want you to know that the younger generation is never going to forgive the people that voted for Trump. They're never going to forgive him. They're never going to forgive him. I don't think they'll ever forgive him, man.
What the impact would be if Harvard lost these billions of dollars in federal funding?
It would be incalculable. We would see hospitals' functionality seriously reduced. We would see labs that have been engaged in life-saving work, dealing with cures for cancer, for Parkinson's, for Alzheimer's, all kinds of things, stopped in their tracks. We would see thousands of layoffs, quite possibly. We would see a huge just break put on what has been an engine of innovation and accomplishment. Again, I just want to highlight the complete sort of sense of self-destructiveness that this feels like for those of us who are here doing the work of scholarship and teaching and research to try to make a better society, to try to make a better nation and world.
All right, Professor Maya Jasanoff, thank you so much. Appreciate your time today.
Man, Trump is doing a lot, man. He's doing a number, man. He's doing a number he's taking a sledgehammer to everything. Like, this has got to go, this has got to go, we got to change this, we got to fix that. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in, too, because you just wonder, like, how everybody's going to take this in the long term. Hopefully it's not horrible, though, but I don't know, man. This is bad. Anyways, let's get it go. Let's get out of here.